Computapes Excel Video 6, doing math and using the formula bar. This is a typical business situation that requires elementary school level math. Obviously, if we write it out in a spreadsheet format, we want the result, or the answer, if you will, to appear right here in cell D7. So notice B7 has your number of hours, C7 has your rate of pay, and you want the answer, the amount that you're entitled to earn, or entitled to take in gross pay, to show up in cell D7. Now, obviously anything you type into the cell is also going to show up in the formula bar. And there is a very simple rule in Excel. Whenever math will follow, when you're typing into a cell, whenever you're typing in any kind of mathematical instruction or logical instruction to Excel, you always start by pushing the equal sign on your keyboard. Equals. This tells Microsoft Excel that something mathematical or some logical instruction will follow. Now, what instruction would you like to give Excel in order for Excel to do the math that you need? Well, we all know in order for you to figure out your gross pay, you have to multiply your number of hours times the rate of pay. So, you type in 50, and you should know that multiplication on the computer is not the letter X. Multiplication on your keyboard is the asterisk key. It's found above the number 8 if you hit the shift key, and it's also found on the number pad above the number 9. The asterisk key means multiplication. So you would tell Excel, please multiply 50 times 20. And this would be the math that a person would do in order to get the gross pay, and this is the math that Excel will do. Now, to save the cell, we push enter, and you notice you are entitled to $1,000. But the most important thing to take away from this presentation is the behavior of the formula bar. When I click on cell B7, I see the number 50. When I click on cell C7, I see the number 20 both in the body of the spreadsheet in cell C7 as well as in the formula bar. Now, in the body of the spreadsheet in cell D7, it looks like there's the number 1000. But when I click to make it the active cell, you can see that even though the body of the cell shows D7 as $1,000, the formula bar shows what's really and truly in the cell. And what's really and truly in the cell is 50 times 20. Now, mind you, what I just showed was the wrong way to do it. The whole point in Excel is to not type in the actual numbers that are in the cell, but the cells themselves, and here's why. If I go back to the spreadsheet and I realize that the number of hours was counted wrong, I could easily click onto the cell that holds the number of hours and overtype it with the correct number. For example, 40 hours was the correct number of hours instead of 50. The problem is, when I hit enter, my original $1,000 does not change. But if I make the hours only 40, 1,000 is now the wrong answer. You can see in the formula bar why the $1,000 did not change. Cell D7 has a simple calculation, 50 times 20. That's why it did not change, because it still says 50 times 20. And 50 times 20 is 1,000, no matter what you do. However, the body of the spreadsheet implies that the math that should go here is 40 times 20. Well, the proper way to type in the original formula would not have been to put the number 50 in the calculation. The proper way would have been to type in the cell that was holding the number 50, and in that case it would have been B7. Now notice what happens when I type in the cell B7 instead of the number 50. Cell B7 is highlighted in blue, and B7, the actual characters that I typed in, are also highlighted in blue. This helps your eyes detect the corresponding cell physically on the sheet to the number that you typed in. I'm going to change the number 20 to the cell holding the number 20, which is cell C7. And as you can see, it turns cell C7 highlighted green, which corresponds to the C7 text that I typed in, or the characters that I typed in the formula bar. Now, when I push enter, the right number will show up in gross pay. As you can see, this is the correct number. When I click back on cell D7, you can see that the number 800 is not really what's in cell D7. The formula bar is showing what's really in cell D7 is B7 times C7. Now, why is it better to type in B7 times C7 and have the computer looking at whatever number's in the box or whatever number's in the cell instead of typing in the actual number? Well, the advantage is if one of the pieces of data inside the box or inside the cell is a mistake, you could simply click onto the cell, overtype the cell with the number it's supposed to be, and when I push enter to save the new contents of B7, look what will happen over here. Boom! The number will correct itself automatically because Excel is going to multiply this number times whatever's in this cell, regardless of how many times I change it. I could even type in 200 and push enter. Boom! The result is automatic, because no matter what I type into B7, the computer will instantly multiply it times the content of C7, no matter what it is, to give me the answer. So if I click back here and I type back the original number and I push enter, the gross pay goes back to what it was. Again, whenever you type in a math formula, don't put the number that's in the cell, put the cell address. This way you could change the number anytime you want, and the math will automatically adjust the correct number in the cell that has the formula.